As a new angler in the early stages, without some guidance, you will make the mistake of buying a fishing rod that won't suit your needs based on your techniques you're going to use. Or maybe you're not so new and just want to step up your game. Well, I would like to walk you through the decision-making process that will help you choose the right rod. I will also give you some tips that will help you when you decide which rod to choose. Welcome back to another edition of Keeping KastKing Lit with me, Joel P., here on the KastKing YouTube channel. Today's show is going to be good. It's going to be all about fishing rods. And I know as a new angler, this could be one of the hardest things to pick out, and knowing what rod to pick out and when to use it for that matter. So let me help you get started, and let me help you purchase the right rod to get you out on the water and go fishing. Here are a few questions that you're going to need to ask yourself first. Or what type of fish are you going to be targeting? You wouldn't want to use a heavy power fast action rod to catch crappie. And secondly, what technique are you going to use? Now, you may not think this doesn't matter, but it does. If you are not using the proper rod for the certain technique, your bait is not going to perform to its full potential. And lastly, what type of cover are you fishing? When I think of cover, I think of big chunk rock, trees, vegetation, anything that the fish can use to their advantage to hide, ambush, or seek shelter. It's important to have a rod that has the appropriate power to be able to get that fish out of such cover and keep that fish from going back into the cover and breaking you off. And in the case of vegetation, like I said, allowing you to reel in the fish and all that weight of the salad that just comes with it. So let's break down all of this information that you see labeled on any rod. Let's start with power. Power means a rod's stiffness or resistance to bending, or resistance when being flexed. So hence the ratings of UL, L, M, MH, and extra heavy. Action is a rod's flex when under strain. So you will see these actions labeled on rods extra fast, fast, medium, moderate, or moderate and slow. When you look at the bend of a fast action rod, it only bends in the first top third of the blank. Now, here's a little tip for you guys. Fast action rods are good for soft plastics. The rod I like to use is a KastKing Speed Demon Pro rod. Now, the Speed Demon Pro rod starts with KastKing's own elite carbon blanks that utilize carbon nanotube resin technology to reduce weight, increase braking and lifting strength by over 30% compared to the standard graphite blank. Graphite rods are very sensitive, allowing you to feel the slightest bite and the makeup of the bottom structure. When you see rods that have IM 6, 7, 8, or even 9 printed on it somewhere, here's what you need to know. First, IM stands for intermediate module graphite. The higher the number, the more sensitive and the thinner the diameter of that rod is going to be. Now, keep in mind, with graphite rods, you get sensitivity and a rod that is super light. However, you also get a rod that is brittle, so be super careful how you treat that rod. Slow action as well as moderate action rods are good for crankbaits. The bend of a slow action rod is in the lower third of the blank. Historically, these rods were made of fiberglass. Today's rods are made with S-glass. S-glass is not as dense as traditional fiberglass. It has a higher tensile strength and more modules of elasticity. All of this translates into giving the fish more time to get those hooks of that crankbait in its mouth. Now, keep in mind that glass rods are not known for sensitivity. With today's technology, though, rods that are a composite blend of glass and graphite adds to the sensitivity as well as improving the action of that moving bait. An example of this rod is going to be the KastKing Sprawl rod. Here is one of two in a series of 5 that is made of 70-30 blend. Now, rods come in a variety of lengths. Rod length is important, especially when it comes to certain techniques. When you're looking at the info on a rod, it'll show you the length. Some manufacturers will spell out length, and some will just add it to the rod description or part number of that rod. As you can see from the picture behind me, there is a list of letters, then numbers. Then it says 70MH. I know that this rod is in 7-foot medium heavy power. A long rod is great for long distance casting. And when you need a little extra leverage when flipping or pitching into heavy cover and you need to get that fish out once it's hooked. And it also aids in picking up a lot of extra line. A short rod is what you want for accuracy. So when it comes to rod length, if you want to be a fish sniper and put that bait on the target the size of a dime, okay, maybe not a dime to start, but maybe a trash can or a trash can lid, use a shorter rod. Also, pay attention to the lure weight and line size printed on any rod. This info is vital. If you use a lure that is too heavy, you will hinder the action of that lure, and you also risk breaking your rod, among other things. On the opposite side, if you use a lure that is too light, you won't be able to cast it as far, and you are probably killing the action of that lure. If you want to use a lighter line or lure than what's labeled on the rod, you might as well just step down on rod power. I tend to not use the max lure size labeled on a rod, but more in between, the max size of the line and the lightest lure that you can use. I hope this video helped you guys out, and I hope now you're able to understand all that writing on the back of a rod to be able to make your next decision on your next purchase. Hey, if you are new to the channel, click that like button, click that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification. That way you guys get notified when either my partners or myself does a KastKing video. Hey, we're all about helping you guys out and teaching you guys new things. So for KastKing and for me, especially Joel P., thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you guys again on the next show. I'm going to go hang out with these cats. These two, yeah. See ya.